Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I want to show you how to mix heavy metal electric guitars. We're going to be looking at sculpting some metal electric guitars today, but before we dive in, if you are ready to go a little bit deeper into the mixing process in its entirety and really start to hone your workflow as an audio engineer, then I have just the thing for you. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and it's just a simple PDF that will walk you through the entire mixing process step by step to help you get professional and radio-ready mixes without any more of the hassle and without any more of the guesswork. It is completely free, and you can download it below by clicking the link in the video description. Oh, excuse me. Let's jump in here and take a look at these guitars. So it's just a pair of electric guitars, a left and right. It's a smaller style track here. We've got a full drum kit going on, bass guitar, electric guitars, pair of electric guitars, and then a bunch of vocals. I've got the vocals muted here. We're just going to listen to the instrumental track so we can focus in on these electric guitars. I'm going to hit play so you can hear our finished instrumental mix here, and then I'll solo up just the pair of electric guitars so you can hear what we're going for with this sound. So you can hear these are pretty big sounding guitars. They're mean, they've got some weight, and they've got some hiss up on top. So there's nothing on the individual tracks here except a remnant of the amp we used when we were recording. But other than that, no processing is going on the individual tracks. Both of these guys here are being bussed to the electric guitar bus here. So we've got our left and right guitar. They're sending into our electric guitar bus. And this is where we're doing our processing. You can see we've got a lot of EQ going on here to sculpt the sound of these electric guitars, adding weight, adding noise, adding mid-range bite. Let me show you the before of these electric guitars, and I'll click this back on. You can hear where we end up. You can hear we're going for something that's a little bit noisier. We've got a lot of top end going on these electric guitars, so you can hear that top end sizzle and that top end hiss coming from the amp. It's a lot of energy going on across the spectrum here. So let's start at the bottom here, and I'll take off all of our processing here. We've used every band on the EQ today. The first thing I'm putting in is a high pass filter. There's a lot of energy, like I said, going across the full frequency spectrum here. So I want to control some of the bottom end and roll off a little bit of this extra sub area to make room for our kick drum and our bass guitar there. I want just the low end coming from our bass guitar and our kick drum. I don't need super low end or sub area coming from our electric guitars here. So take a listen without the high pass and then with. We're at 112 hertz. You can hear how we tighten up the frequency spectrum of this pair of guitars and roll off that sub area, that kind of woofy sound that we don't need coming from our wide panned electric guitars. That can come from our bass guitar and our kick drum. I want our electric guitars panned wide to have a little bit higher low end weight. So that's where we're doing our next boost here. But before we get to that boost, let's talk about the low mid area here. So the next thing I'm doing is I'm pulling out a dB at 250 hertz here. I'm not pulling out too much because I don't want to thin out these electric guitars. I just want to pull out some of the muddiness and some of the heaviness here in the low mid area. So we're at 251 hertz. I'm pulling out about a dB here. So listen without the cut. Then I'll kick this cut in and I'll boost it up so you can hear the frequency range we're taking care of. So without it and then with. We're just reducing that woofy sort of sound that makes our electric guitars feel muddy and feel too heavy. In a track like this where we're moving really, really fast, any kind of muddiness is going to be exaggerated because it's going to build up through our track. So just pulling a little bit of that out to make room in the rest of our track and in the rest of our frequency spectrum here. Now, what I'm doing next is I'm emphasizing mid-range here. That's what you're selling on electric guitars is mid-range. So I'm at 1K here, and I'm adding almost 4 dB at 1K. So listen without this boost and then with this boost, and you'll hear how it really fills out our electric guitar sound. And I'm a little bit lower than I would usually boost on electric guitars. Usually I'm up towards 1.5, maybe 2K, but I'm down at 1K, so I can bring up some of this growl around 800. So listen one more time. You can hear when I put this boost in, it makes the guitars feel meaner. And this kind of boost here actually helps them sit really nicely with any kind of growls or screaming that's going on in a metal style track as well. So the last couple moves we're making here are boosts in the top end and the low end. So we've taken care of our low mid, we've added mid range to fill out our electric guitars. Now we're going to emphasize the top and bottom of the electric guitars to give us that brightness and that noise and sizzle up on the top end and give us some weight on the bottom end. The first boost I'm reaching for is a normal top end boost I would do on electric guitars. We're at about 4K. This is where I would usually add brightness on electric guitars. We're going a little bit further than I usually would because we want to add some of this top end to make it kind of noisy, make it a little messy sounding so we can get that metal sort of sound. We're adding about 5 dB at 4K here, so listen to this boost. This boost here is the difference between rock guitars or maybe even just heavy rock guitars and metal guitars. You can hear it adds that noise and that sizzle up on the top end that you want to hear when they're going really, really fast. It gives you that idea of or emphasis on the precision of the guitar player. Now this further boost up here, this 8K boost, is because the artist wanted it to be noisier sounding. So we're adding this noise up on the top end at 8K. I'm adding, again, about 4 dB here at 8K. So listen to what this boost is doing up on the super, super top end for these guitars. Adding a ton of brightness and a ton of sizzle up on the top end for these electric guitars, but it helps them feel big and give them a powerful presence inside the mix here. Now, if this scares you a little bit, boosting this high on a pair of electric guitars, which it can, you can always drop in a little low pass here up on the top end and maybe roll it in to 15K here and roll off some of that super, super high stuff. I didn't feel that was necessary here at this moment. Now, the last boost I'm doing on these electric guitars, the last move I'm making, is I'm adding a touch more power in the bottom end. So I'm at 138, anywhere from like 120 to 150, going up towards 200, is going to give you that low-end power and that weight on electric guitars. This is what's going to make them feel big and help them sit nicely with our bass guitar here. So listen without and then with this boost, we're doing a half dB at 138 hertz. It's a small move and it's subtle inside the track, especially even here on just the pair of electric guitars. It's a subtle move, but it balances out the frequency spectrum of our electric guitars. We've added mid-range, we've boosted a ton of top end. A little bit of low end is going to go a long way to balance out the frequency spectrum of our electric guitars. So let's throw them back inside the mix here, and we'll A/B our entire EQ inside the track. Mixing guitars for heavy metal can take some sculpting, but you're usually adding a lot more top end than you're used to and boosting up just a touch of the bottom end to even out the frequency spectrum. So rolling off some super sub here, pulling out some low mid, emphasizing our mid range to get that mean growl, pulling up our top end for some sizzle and some extra noise here, and then balancing that out with a little bit of low end at 138 hertz. I hope that was helpful for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you're ready to take your mixes to the next level and really start dialing in your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the tool for you, and it is completely free. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and you can download it below to start creating more professional mixes in less time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.